The scope of work might be the most important part of a construction agreement, even more important than the price. Without a defined scope of work, there's no way to know what work must be done. What is a scope of work? The scope of work outlines the work required, who's responsible for completing each part, the project schedule, and any other necessary details for contractors and subs. Might be included in the contract or provided as a separate document. The scope of the work isn't set in stone though. It's commonly modified via change orders and partial terminations. A good scope of work includes enough detail to ensure that everyone on the project can stay on the same page. Without it, the potential for defects, payment disputes, and project delays will soar. So what does the scope of work usually include? There's no single way to set out the scope of work. Still, there are a couple of general considerations that should be included. The first, a project overview. It's a short, concise statement summarizing the project description. The overview should list critical objectives that must be achieved in order to complete the project successfully. Number 2, milestones and deliverables. This section should detail all the expected project goals that need to be reached throughout the lifespan of the project. It will ideally include enough relevant info to provide contractors and subs a clear understanding of the project requirements. Third, a scope and technical details. The scope and technical details will give the project scope and essential details regarding the precise tasks and their technical aspects. Specific methods and techniques required for the completion of a contractor's performance will be listed along with the evaluation criteria. Number 4, schedule and timeline. The schedule and timeline does not require a full detailed construction schedule, but rather a general list of tasks and related tasks for the project and when they're expected to be completed. Contractors need to plan around their deadlines. To do so, they should be told the overall anticipated project timeline, delivery dates, and any relevant completion milestones. And finally, management and admin. This section of the scope of work will define the administrative procedures on the project. Things like how are change orders going to be handled, and when and how are payments going to be issued. These questions are ideally answered in this section, along with any other pertinent contract and legal requirements. So to conclude, there's 5 things to remember for a scope of work: project overview, milestones and deliverables, scope and technical details, schedule and timeline, and management and admin. The scope of work might be the most important part of a construction agreement, even more important than the price. Without a defined scope of work, there's no way to know what work must be done. That means it's incredibly important to establish the scope when contracting to show what tasks must be done and who's responsible for them. Thanks for watching, and if this video was helpful, please subscribe.